Live from WTEN in Albany, this is News 10 at 5.
The white smoke tells the story. The Cardinals have selected a new pope, and he is Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger, seen here greeting the world for the first time as Pope Benedict XVI.
The selection came after only 4 votes by the College of Cardinals. There was some confusion about just what color the smoke was, but the ringing of the bells erased any questions. We turn to Diana Muriel for a wrap-up of today's events.
An historic day for the Roman Catholic Church, the announcement coming sooner than expected by the 1.1 billion Catholics around the world who now have a new leader. What looked like white smoke atop the Sistine Chapel surprised those waiting in St. Peter's Square. Then the ringing of the bells, the second sign that the 115 cardinal conclave had reached a decision. Chilean Cardinal Jorge Arturo Medina Estevez appeared.
Cardinale Ratzinger.
His holy name, Benedict XVI.
Mi consola il fatto.
I am consoled by the fact that I can trust myself to your prayers.
John Paul left really big shoes to fill, and I think the best person who can do it is now Pope Benedict XVI.
The 6th German to serve as Pope, Ratzinger is 78 years old. He was the Dean of Cardinals and for 20 years served as Chief Theological Advisor to Pope John Paul II, who named him to lead the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, the keepers of Vatican beliefs. Personally, he is regarded as humble and charming, a conservative intellectual. But in matters of doctrine, he is known as Cardinal No. No to ordained women. No to married priests. No to homosexuality. No to communism. No to rock music.
The Pope has to be the Pope of everyone. It will be very interesting to see to what extent the doctrinaire enforcer can become the universal pastor.
And indeed, he is expected to continue in the conservative tradition of his predecessor. Benedict XVI becomes the first German pontiff to be elected since the 11th century, the 265th Pope, the first one to be elected in the 21st century. I'm Diana Muriel reporting from Vatican City. Back to you.
Again, Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger will now be known as Pope Benedict XVI. His selection of a name could be indicative of the direction he wants to take the church. The move could be seen as a bid to soften his hardline conservative image, as we just heard about. That's because the previous Pope Benedict is credited with settling animosity between traditionalists and modernists and was seen as a moderate, and Benedict XIV was known as a peacemaker. Another appealing aspect for Ratzinger, he's known as a scholar, just like Pope Benedict XIV and the 11th.
Because he was the front runner, people knew about Cardinal Ratzinger and were able to offer some definite opinions after his election was announced. One of those people, of course, Albany Bishop Howard Hubbard. John McLoughlin has the details.
They already knew that Cardinal Ratzinger is a German, a strong traditionalist, and that he's 78 years old.
I was interested that he was as old as he was. I think maybe they felt 25 years was a little over the top for service.
Some of his views are pretty conservative, and I'm wondering if he may alienate some of the people who have been doubting the Catholic Church.
While I have met Cardinal Ratzinger, I don't really know him on a person-to-person basis.
Albany's bishop calls Ratzinger's election, quote, a new spring for Catholics. But Hubbard, like a lot of American bishops, is perceived as much more progressive than Ratzinger. The German prelate, who was John Paul's top theological advisor, was described as the Vatican's enforcer when it came to conservative views. Is it fair to assume that we're not going to see much change in the Church's position under Ratzinger?
Well, you can always be surprised by the spirit. People didn't expect much change under Pope John the 23rd, and yet he revolutionized the Church with the Second Vatican Council. Cardinal Ratzinger is a man of a world-class intellect. He is undoubtedly, in my estimation, the sharpest intellect in the Roman Curia.
Now, the Roman Curia the bishop refers there to, of course, is the bureaucracy within the Vatican that administers the Church. Bishop Hubbard told me there are some issues where he would differ with Ratzinger, but the bishop declined to identify those issues, saying that this was a day to rejoice over the choice of this holy man. John McLoughlin, News 10.
The Pope will be formally installed on Sunday during his inaugural Mass. We have much more on the selection of Pope Benedict coming up. And of course, World News Tonight will have a complete wrap-up of the day's events beginning at 6:30.
An 81-year-old New Scotland woman using a wheelchair to get around gets caught in a fire in her home and can't make it out. News 10's Dori Marlin has the story.
Shortly after 7:30 a.m., Albany fire crews got the call. A home at 22 Glendale Avenue was on fire and a woman in a wheelchair was inside. That call came from construction workers across the street.
So I ran over to the front porch door and, you know, felt around. It was hot, so I gave it a good kick, kicked it open, was yelling inside, didn't know if there was anybody home or not.
Gary Overdorf, a neighbor, watched as crews tried to save the woman.
Did not see any flame, but when I saw her pulled out, it looked like she'd been burned pretty good.
She was also in full cardiac arrest at the time and later died. Neighbors tell us that woman was Ann Labasco, an elderly woman who suffered from severe arthritis.
A neighbor that we spoke to in this house here, this is 16 Glendale, just 2 doors away from where the woman lived, said that she was a lovely woman, that she lived there for some time. They also said that she had been living in a nursing home at some point, but was now living on her own.
Alone, but under the care of a nurse's aide who came to see her daily, along with her sons who would visit all the time.
She was a nice woman, you know, when she was out and about. It's always sad to see someone go.
Dori Marlin, News 10.
A fatal fire in Hudson is being investigated as a possible arson this evening. The fact that the fire burned from the outside in is one indication that the fire may have been set here at North 3rd Street. The woman who leased the back apartment had a female friend spending the night on the couch and a boyfriend who woke up in time to escape.
He heard somebody holler, "Help me," and reached in and grabbed an arm and pulled out the lady who was currently at Westchester County Medical. And he tried to reach in for the other young lady, and he heard her hollering. He couldn't get in there. He says, "I couldn't see anything." He says it was just too hot, too much of smoke, too much fire.
The man's girlfriend died in the fire. Police are not giving out her name. Cambridge police now say they believe a house fire was intentionally set there. Flames broke out of the Washington Street Extension apartment yesterday. Police now say the fire started in a garage and an accelerant was used to help it along. Sources say authorities are interviewing a suspect right now.
A rape is still on the loose in Schenectady tonight. The victim, an 18-year-old woman, happened last night around 9:30 on Strong Street near Hewlett in Hamilton Hill. Police say the woman was grabbed by